Between 1927 and 1929, 10 of these things were made. This is the Southern Railway E1/R class. They were rebuilds from the LB and SCR's E1s. The first of Stroudley's E1s being built in 1874 and the last in 1891, totaling 79. After a test batch proved to be successful, they were built in small numbers for many years, the last 6 being built after the designer's death. Their main jobs were short-distance goods movements and station piloting. They must have done well, because the last of this class to be withdrawn made it into 1961, and another member working in industrial service until 1963, this one being preserved. The E1R had a similar purpose. In 1927, there was a handful of E-tanks in good shape, and there was a need for light goods and passenger service locomotives on the western region of the Southern Railway. Under Richard Maunsel, 10 E1s had their frames, tanks, and coal bunkers extended, and they were fitted with a radial trailing axle, allowing them to fit into tight spots. Unfortunately, this class did prove to be rough riders, 4 engines being rebalanced by bullied so they could actually do the work they were built for. The other 6, which hadn't been corrected, were restricted to shunting and banking work. Despite the rough start, they did perform their duties well, until in 1955, Ivett's 2MT tanks came in and started replacing the E1Rs, the last being withdrawn in 1959, outlived by the standard E1s by 2 years in British Railways service. The E1R can't be described entirely as a failure, because when they got the attention they needed, they could do exactly what they were built for. But it's hard to call them a success when most of them were relegated to other jobs solely because they rode rough and caused discomfort for their passengers. They weren't so successful that they just had to keep making more like the E-tanks they were based off of, but they also weren't outright failures like the E2s. They could work, and I found no mention of poor reliability, but maybe I just didn't look hard enough. These are a very interesting case to me. They were all built as E-tanks by Stroudley. The ones that were chosen to be rebuilt by Maunsel had already been reboilered under D.E. Marsh, and then 4 of those E1/Rs were adjusted by bullied. By the end of this class's life, they had significant influence by 4 different generations of locomotive engineer. The only thing that got them knocked out of service was machines built over half a century after them. Obviously, Ivett's Prairies were strong performers, but I can't help but feel one of these little guys just has more character. The longest life of any E1R, counting their life as an E1 first, was number 2610, or if you like your BR numbering, 32610, built in 1874, withdrawn in 1956, with an astonishing working life of 82 years. The long lifespan of these engines is largely due to the Southern Railway's desire to electrify their lines, and so they held off on creating new engines in most cases. Long working careers are characteristic of Stroudley's tank engines, some E1s outliving the E1Rs, and some of the A1s and later A1Xs would have working careers of over 90 years. Even his little D1 tanks could have careers of over 60 years. While the Southern Railway held on to old engines for ages longer than any other railway might have, none of the E1/Rs made it into preservation. A real shame, because one of these would probably be perfect for running up and down basically any heritage railway with a couple of coaches. Really, if I had too much money for my own good, this is one of the things I would make happen. I can't really explain it, just look at it. It's such a cute little locomotive. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to stick around because I will be uploading another like this every week. It's pretty likely my next video will be on another Southern engine because that's what I've got downloaded for trains at the moment. But if you have any ideas for something you haven't seen covered, let me know and I'll see about making a video on it. So far, I've enjoyed the comparatively little research that went into this, and typing out the script. Can only hope editing goes so smoothly. Thanks for watching.